correctly with the correct amount.
D20 Radio, where gamers roll.
www.d20radio.com.
Welcome to Me and Steve Talk RPGs, a podcast where me and my friend Steve try and help you get the most out of your role-playing game experience.
Hey folks, welcome back to Me and Steve Talk RPGs. I'm Steve, and only one Steve tonight, but I have a guest. But before I get to that, I want to take a minute to tell you about another podcast here on the D20 Radio Network. And this week, that's going to be How We Roll, which is, well, you've heard Daryl on recently. I had Daryl and Robert on a while back. It's another podcast on the network, kind of similar to Me and Steve, but it's three people. It's Daryl, Robert, and Nick. And kind of one of the unique things about them, they do a lot of stuff, be it game reviews, talking about game concepts, how to do different things, working with your table. But I think the thing that kind of is unique about that show is they all play together, but they all, like, say Daryl runs one campaign, Nick runs another, Robert runs another, or they make co-GM campaigns. So you get this unique perspective of them talking about, oh, I did this as a GM. And then you have the other voices going, yeah, and as a player, it seemed like this. So you have this cool dynamic of, not just I did this and it seemed like the table enjoyed it. You get feedback from the table. And I've met all three of them. I've played with all three of them. I've run for all three of them. They're great people, great show. So check them out again. That's How We Roll Gaming. And there'll be links to all that stuff in the show notes so you can check that out. But all that being said, this week I'm joined by Adrian from Adrian Young Games, all the way on the other side of the world. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Adrian.
Greetings, Steve. Welcome, and thank you for the invitation.
So you've been bouncing around our Discord for a while, and at some point I realized that, oh wait, he has a game, writes games, does things, and well, then I looked it up and I'm like, well, hey, this looks fun. So you have a game out called Age of Adventure?
That is it. Heroic fantasy tabletop role-playing. Correct.
So, now I'm looking at the drive-through listing, and it's labeled as OSR, which I understand as a full-on game nerd, why you would do that. But if someone, to me, and maybe this is also a different perspective because you're not from the same geographic place I am. When I hear that, I think something that harkens back to old school D&D, or maybe to like old school Warhammer or fighting fantasy.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, OSR. Definitely, I think old school for me is something that's harkens back, to a simpler age of less complicated role-playing game systems where you're focusing on the adventure and what the character actions do, less of the like narrative or storytelling type games. So I probably use it loosely in those terms.
Yeah. So I don't want to just read off the thing. I'd like to hear your kind of description of it, kind of get an idea of what you were going for. How did you land on what you did use a derivative of to make this game?
Well, I've been playing role-playing games since the 80s. So I originally got into them via fighting fantasy game books, where I saw some ads for these things called role-playing games. And over the decades, I played a lot of campaigns that were, like most people probably find with campaigns, they take up a lot of your time. They do eat a lot of time. And it was only after, COVID finished, I guess, I got exposure to a lot more online, more simpler role-playing games. I suppose some people would call them more indie type games. And I just, got onto a spiral where I was playing all of these one-shots of different systems because I think COVID opened my eyes in terms of the amount of games that were actually out there. Before that, you were limited pretty much to what you could see in your own shop or your local game store. And someone ran for me Lasers and Feelings. I'd never heard of it before. I signed up. I thought, this sounds interesting. And it was just like one of those light bulb moments. I still was very heavily into fighting fantasy, and even the simplicity of fighting fantasy game books with 2d6 plus your skill, or roll under your skill. Very simple, just with d6s. It sort of struck a chord with Laser and Feelings because the system is pretty much, well, it's a one-page system for starters, created by John Harper, and you only have one number as your statistic, essentially, that you need to roll you need to roll under or over, depending on your action. And the game just opened my mind. It really inspired me. And I thought straight away, the game actually, Lasers and Feelings, is science fiction, but this person ran a Japanese samurai hack. And just the fact that they were able to hack that system, straight away I thought, geez, I wonder if I could hack this and do a fantasy Lasers and Feelings. And that's pretty much how it started. I pretty much started hacking away, and before I knew it, Age of Adventure was born.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm not sure if I've ever played Lasers and Feelings or a derivative of it. I mean, I know Honey
Okay.
Heist is basically the same thing. It's just
Yeah.
bears and whatever. I've listened to it
Yeah.
played a good bit. It is remarkably simple, and I think you're on, like I think a lot of us in our gaming journey have those moments of like, "Oh crap. That's so simple, but it just works."
100%. That was it. Yep. That was pretty much it. Yeah, just the simplicity of it, but yet we were able to just resolve, any situation with simply a D6 and using that core number under or over. Having said that, I do say that Age of Adventure is inspired. Originally, I said it was a hack of Lasers and Feelings, but a lot of the hacks are the simple opposite skills. So, Lasers and Feelings, or, like you said, the Bears has the two actions. I haven't actually played Honey Heist, but yeah, it normally has the two. And I started bolting on a lot more mechanics onto it, just to suit my group and myself. And I found that some people signing up to play were still after that really stripped down. You have the one stat, roll over or under, and then you narrate what happens. Whereas I was still more in the traditional, where the GM sort of describes the scene, the players just say their actions. That's sort of more. That's why I say it's more old school. So I was
Yeah, no,
still of that sort of caliber. So yeah, just bolted on a few additions. So then I decided to say more inspired by Lasers and Feelings rather than a direct hack, just so that people were more aware that there was a little bit more to it. Not much, but enough to give it that sort of light, crunchy vibe.
Mhm. No, and you know, I've said this on the show a number of times. Initially when I heard about like one-page RPGs, or like the other Steve is a big fan of, there was this thing for a while called the 200-word RPG challenge.
Mm,
And you're like, "Well, how can you get a whole game in one page?" And then
mm,
we started goofing around playing some of them, and it's like, "Oh my god. These are ridiculously simple. They're ridiculously fun." Because what they do so well is they just get everyone to lean into the vibe and just go
yep.
with the feel, and it's so easy to buy in. And I think some of that is because, kind of like you said, there's one or two things on your sheet. That's it. There's not all this stuff about, well, am I gonna be able to do this thing? I don't know. I think I should try this thing. Let's roll. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Yep.
you lose that inhibition of you. It cuts
You
down on
don't
the
get bogged
inhibition.
down.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So now, what would
Yeah.
you say you bolted things on and modified, whatever?
Mm.
Obviously, it's still. I mean, I'm looking at it's a 12-page PDF. So
Yeah, there's two versions. I had for many years I had the one page version with basically all the mechanics on one page, but I did get a lot of, well, not a lot of feedback, but a number of people gave me feedback that they would like it um, more accessible in terms of the design, so that the chapters are properly, character creation is one thing, skills is one page, etc. Just spread out a bit more. So I made the 12-page booklet, elaborated on some of the rules, but essentially it's the one page spread over a longer document with some additional addendum sort of rules that we used in our, that would develop in our test plays and that sort of thing. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I pretty much use I call it the deluxe edition when I'm playing and sharing with other players. But a lot of GMs who run the game for me, they just happy with the one page because they know the rules pretty much
Mhm.
down pat, I
Well,
guess.
I think too. There's a levels of comfort for GMs running games, and
Yep.
I think at some point, like I think early on, you have one of two circumstances comes up. I think you have either a player who wants, or we'll say a young GM who wants to have a rule for everything, so that they can point to the rule book and say this is why it is,
Mm.
or you have a GM who doesn't want to go, who is scared of not knowing all the rules. And I think sometimes maybe just like you said, you added on these addendums or whatever, that
Mm.
can that gives those people who are afraid of not knowing the rules enough that they have a structure, but they don't feel like they're overwhelmed by that structure.
Yeah. Look, you've hit the nail on the head. Yeah. There were some things in the one page, well, that are on the one page that might have like a skill with one word, sort of to describe that skill. But then in the deluxe edition, that skill will have a sentence. So it was giving a bit more detail for those players who didn't want to have to think about other applications of that skill. So it was a bit more refined and specific things like, I think, what have I done? Like fire damage and oil and special damage, things that would come up that aren't covered in the one page. But I found a number of players were like, oh, what happens in that case? And rather than, as you said, have to make it up and wing it, yeah, some GMs like to know, oh, okay, no, the rule is for this, bang.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think, one of the beauties, as we sort of spoke a bit offline, in that you just want to make sure that the rules don't get in the way of the players having a good time and the adventure progressing. Because that was one thing I used to find playing the crunchier games where we'd stop a lot because you were checking the rules or you're being a rules lawyer or whatever the case may be. And it does hamper. I think the more rules there are, if it's not handled properly, it can make the game a bit too mechanical. So hopefully, and I think, Lasers and Feelings at its core, it's really designed to be able to experience an adventure without getting bogged down. So hopefully, Age of Adventure doesn't have too many bolts on it.
Well, I'm gonna say, like you've put some nuts and bolts into it, but it can't be too many because I'm showing a U.S. price of $1.41 for the PDF on drive-through. So either that or
Yeah,
you have found the world's cheapest place to buy hardware. Um, and that's for the deluxe edition, folks.
very good.
No, but like I appreciate that, and this also kind of feels like you kind of went, okay, we're having fun with this. We want to do something more, and then, well, crap. You know what? I should put this out there so other people can have fun with it too.
Yeah, when I originally did it, actually, I did it for my own benefit, I guess, and for my home group. But because that was at the same time when there was, say the explosion in online, I discovered Discord and connecting to people overseas like yourself. I really wanted to share it with more people, and then it's just so easy nowadays to do that, which is, one of the good things I guess that came out of COVID. Yeah, so being able to have it on drive through and itch and be able to play online with people from all over the world. I think it's a system that, and I often say it's for beginners. Yeah, it's rules friendly, whether you're experienced in RPGs or just starting with them. My aim is that anyone can jump in and start either GMing or playing.
So you said, just to go back a little here, that you got into games originally in the '80s. Fighting
Mm.
fantasy, I've heard it talked about a lot, but I don't think that ever caught
Oh,
on big here in the U.S. Or at least I
oh,
was
okay.
never around it. I didn't get
Yeah.
into gaming compared to a lot of people till fairly late. I was 17 or 18. It was my first year at university.
Mm.
Um, and my one friend was like, "Well, we need someone to fill in as the Wookiee in this Star Wars game." And I'd also just recently been introduced to Star Wars. I did not see Star Wars somehow until 1993.
Wow. Okay.
Like I was
Damn.
aware that it
Okay.
existed, but I had never seen the
And you
movie.
never. Wow. Okay. You're being a rare. I think you're being a rare club for that stat.
Probably.
So you didn't start playing RPGs till the 90s?
Yeah, early 90s. Well, but it'd been fall of 93. So
Yeah.
it was the
Well,
original,
I
at that
think.
point, the West End Star Wars
Okay.
was the first thing I played. And then I got interested in games then. And then my roommate and the friend that I mentioned that got me to play Star Wars with him
Hmm.
had these books for this game called Rift,
Oh, damn.
which I'm not going to go into the rant about Rift because it's I still really, really love the world concept, but
Did you play it or run it?
I ran it. I, to
Oh,
this day, have
wow.
never actually played as a player Rifts. I don't believe.
Respect.
I ran it
Rift's
for
GM.
2 years, 2.5 years. Now, I jokingly say this now. I thought this world was awesome and amazing and this and that. And none of the friends that I had that had books wanted to run it. So I'm like, well, fine, I'll frickin' run this game. I had no idea. I literally had discovered RPGs, in a matter of months before this, right?
Yeah.
I had no idea why no one wanted to run Rifts for me.
Did you find it easy though? Like knowing that no one had read it or introduced you to how to run it, did it have enough for you to get in and actually run it?
Well, I ran it. There are things that I didn't run correctly that I didn't discover for a while. Here's the thing: Rifts, at its mechanically, is kind of a hybrid D100 D20 system. It's both, which is, well, frankly, dumb. But anyway, the thing with Rifts, and I did kind of somehow, and I don't know how I understood this, but I did understand easily enough that I had to not just let people play whatever. I had to kind of restrict things because, again, if you're not familiar with the game, the concept of power spiral is how do I want to say this? If you look up
Problem?
RPG power spiral in the dictionary, it has mild case of Rifts is the definition.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no. Stuff that is legitimately statted out as a playable character option is bonkers. Like, or you can play a city rat, which is basically, or a vagabond, which is basically a homeless dude that
But
has like,
was this in like the one book? Because I remember Rifts, there was a lot of
oh yeah,
different.
I have a stack of Rifts books, probably, I don't know,
Yeah, I remember
you know,
seeing them in the game shop, but they're just expansions.
they
Are
are
they or
source books to cover different geographic
source books?
areas, they advanced the timeline a little bit as they went along. But even
Right.
in the core book, there are drastically different power levels. And so I did somehow grok, fairly quickly that, okay, I have to like say, okay, no, you can only play this and this, and you can't play that thing, even though technically the book says you can.
Oh, why? Because you knew that it would break it,
I
or
I don't know how I knew that. I just realized that, boy, so the thing with Rips is like, yeah, I can just open a book and find something big enough and bad enough for it to be a challenge. And also at the time, I didn't really understand that there was a lot more to it than combat. And so I learned a lot just by stumbling through it. But it, look, I have the weirdest
what were we
gaming
saying about
journey.
stopping and starting when you're playing?
Well, but see, okay, so there's a concept in Rifts called a horror factor, which is basically, oh shit, that's weird and scary. Now, I said I started with WEG Star Wars. The next
Mm.
game I moved into, and now you have to also understand that I grew up in a very rural area with very conservative parents who had all kind of bought into the satanic panic thing. So Dungeons and
Yep.
Dragons was bad. I didn't really know what it was, but it was bad.
Yep.
So my friends invite me to this game called Call of Cthulhu.
Sounds safe.
Dungeons and Dragons?
Nice dodge.
So I was running Horror Factor because, I also will joke that the only person who runs Riffs completely rules as written is Kevin Symbieta because everyone else is still looking for that rule in the book somewhere.
Uh,
I just ran the Horror Factor check like my Cthulhu Keeper ran sand checks.
Ah,
Well,
okay.
according to the rule book, it's supposed to be if you fail your thing, it's this penalty, that penalty. There's like a quarter page section on the penalties for failing a horror factor check. So at one point, I stumble across this section rule book, and I went, oh. And so I like stuck a note, a marker in the book at that page. And the next session, I go to my players. I say, okay, look, we can keep doing horror factor the way we have been, or the book says you're supposed to do it this way. What do you want to do? And they went, oh no, we'll keep doing it the way we have. It's more fun. And basically
Ah,
what we did was you just kind of went,
yeah.
and then because you inevitably, you know how this is, right? You always have that one person who just can't pass the roll for love nor money, right? So then we added this, like house rule that if you failed more than 3 in a row, you pissed yourself and ran away screaming because everyone just thought it was fun.
So was it a comedy?
Well, honestly,
It was like Ghostbusters.
it wasn't, but it probably was. I don't know. I had
It
players
looks like a
coming back for
serious
2
game. I
years.
don't know why.
It can it is a post-apocalyptic kitchen sink.
Uh,
I think it's supposed to be gritty, but it is in a lot of ways the ultimate teenage power fantasy game.
okay. I've never played it or run it, so I've no experience of it. I've only heard bad things probably about it. That sort of kept me away from it, I guess.
Mechanically, it's quite crunchy.
Hmm.
It it has a lot of the design concepts are definitely very dated.
Hmm.
Um, I
I
do
mean,
have the Savage Worlds conversion for it,
I heard about
although I
that.
haven't
Yeah.
dived into that a ton.
So using Savage Worlds game system and the World of Rifts. Is
Yes,
that what
and
that is? Yeah.
it's actually it's called Savage Riffs. It is a licensed production. So it is like everything that Pinnacle does for Savage Riffs has to like be approved by Palladium as far as like
Oh,
messing with the
okay.
lore and whatever. So it is an official adaptation.
Yeah. Savage World, I like the game system, exploding dice.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
own it. I've owned it for quite some time. I have yet to deal with it because for me, Savage Worlds feels like a game I would learn how to run it much better in person than trying to because I also struggle with VTTs. It's a me thing.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
trying to learn to GM it while learning how to GM it with a VTT is more than I want to
It's
deal with.
yeah, it's an extra obstacle for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So
Yeah, I
now
like
you've got me thinking, can I take your adventure and hack it and make it riffs?
of course. Age of Rifts. You've heard it first. Coming from Steve. It's funny because I play a lot of one shots in a lot of systems on Discord, but I don't think ever in 6 years I've seen anyone offer to run a game of Rifts.
Well, I can tell you this, even when I was deep into the system, it would take me an hour to an hour and a half to make a character, and
Oh
that's
wow. I wonder if there's any generators.
they did come out with one, I've messed with it a little bit, but again, there's so much bloat and options based on expansions, it's a lot.
It's funny that you mentioned like expansions because I remember when I wanted to get into role playing games, and I still remember going into the game shop because I thought I got my birthday money. I think I was 15, and I thought I'm going to go into our local game shop and buy one of these role playing games I've read about. And I remember seeing Dungeons and Dragons, and there were so many spines. And being a bit of a completionist, and also the fact that I was just getting into the hobby, I thought I'm not even going to touch that. It just seems too much. And I think that's even with riffs, when I think about it, it seems like a lot to
Oh, yeah,
have
there's
to, yeah,
a
grapple
a
with.
lot of books out there for it, and, I think I wonder if that's a thing, to so to speak, maybe get away a little bit from talking about, Age of Adventure and just talk games in general. I wonder
Yeah.
if that is a thing, like, I understand from a publisher's perspective why they want to put out these source books and keep the interest there and make something for people to buy, but I wonder if, I mean, you just said, it's in a sense, it's a barrier to entry. And, I wonder, I don't know, where's the line,
I,
right? Like,
it's funny because I mean, for me, it is a barrier. Like if I see something that's even a thick book, or like Daggerheart, for example, I just wouldn't even want to step into having to read it because I like knowing everything, and I always have a bit of FOMO. So if I haven't read everything, I don't feel like I'm utilizing everything that should be presented.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe I can't say for my generation, but I find it as a barrier. But having said that, I'm part of a local games club that meets. They meet every week. I normally go there once a month, and there's a lot of new players who are buying those systems, whether it's D&D or games with a lot like even Call of Cthulhu, I guess, and they're just getting into it and learning and running the game before they've even finished reading it. So it's a different level of like I couldn't even imagine that. If I was going to run a game, I would literally read the whole thing from start to finish and maybe read it again. I don't know. That's just how my brain works. But they're like, oh, I haven't got to that part yet. And oh, do you know what that rule is? Do you know? It's great, but it also is yeah.
No, I understand exactly where you're coming from because I'm very much one of those like I'm not happy with knowing that if I push this button, this happens. I want to know why when I push this button it happens.
Yeah,
And but I think
maybe it's an Agent Steve thing. Yeah.
well, no, I think it's just it's different people, you know. But
Yeah.
uh, I think something that and take this for whatever you think it's worth is, I'm someone who gets on the internet and talks about games all the time. So I am a bit obsessed, but I think sometimes we overcomplicate what we're trying to do. Like my wife will jokingly and like look, she does my wife is not a gamer at all.
Hmm.
But
I feel that. I feel that.
she will tease me all the time. Like, why do you need so many books to play pretend?
Oh, those words are echoed all around the globe. Don't worry.
And while she says it as a joke, you know what? There's some truth to it. And I think in the spirit of it, man, sometimes, like you made this game to just have fun, do the thing and figure it out. And sometimes that's just what you need.
Mm,
You know what I mean? I'm not saying
yep.
don't buy all the books because look, that's part of the reason I have a podcast about it because I buy a lot of books.
Yep.
You write or have written some pamphlets, books, whatever you want to call them, right? You have a
Mm,
product out there, but like sometimes like I think I enjoy playing some crunchier games that have a lot of supplements and you know so on. Like
mm.
I'm involved, the Exalted actual play we have going on. There's quite a bit of
Oh yeah.
material out there for
Yes.
Exalted.
Yep.
Also, it's currently on a little bit of a hiatus, but I'm also involved in an Earth Dawn campaign locally.
Oh wow. Okay.
Earth Dawn is nice and crunchy and has tons and tons of supplements and many additions. And
Is Earth Dawn its own system or is that
yes,
a setting? Oh, its own system.
so canonically, Earth Dawn is the predecessor to Shadowrun. They were both originally produced by FOSSA.
Is that a fact?
Yes.
I can picture the cover. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
So Earth Dawn is the third age. The modern world, as we think of it, was the fourth age, and Shadowrun is the fifth age.
Oh, I did not know that.
Now, currently, Catalyst Game Labs owns Shadowrun, and FOSSA still owns Earth Dawn. So they aren't any longer owned by the same people, but technically, in make believe land, they are.
Hmm.
One is a progression of the other.
Right. I did not even know FUSA was still going.
Yeah.
Until you mention it now, and I can see they are. Wow. And do you run Earth Dawn? Or...
No. Earth Dawn is its own system, and the system is woven into the setting. Like it's one of those games that it would be very, very hard to get another system to run Earth Dawn.
Mm.
But you wouldn't take the system
What's
for
the
Earth Dawn and
mechanic?
do Step dice and exploding dice.
Mm.
So basically, it works in steps, and your smallest step is a D4. As okay, it works. There's talents and skills and attributes, and basically, as it goes up, it goes from like a D4 to a D6 to a D8 to a D10, and then maybe a D12, and then to two D6, D6, D8. It keeps, but
Oh,
all dice can explode, and you add all dice together.
okay.
So it's crunchy and weird and works perfectly for the setting.
Right. So target number,
Right.
meter exceed. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. But as you exceed by, I forget if it's, I think it's increments of 5, that becomes an additional success, which gives you extra
Degrees
damage.
of success as well. Right. Okay.
Right. So it's crunchy, and it's one of those, the guy who's GMing that game knows the system really well, so it
Hmm.
plays. It runs
Yes.
smoothly enough at the table,
I
but
think
it's
that's it
not
with
as
games. Yeah. If you have some like, yeah, as I was saying, I wouldn't, if something looked too heavy, I wouldn't even entertain running it because being wanting to know everything about it. But having someone run it and know it, I would love to play it.
yeah.
I
We'll
think
see.
it's, yeah.
Another one I'll point to that, and I've only played it a couple times, is, and well, they now have, at least on my Facebook, the 4th edition is plastered all over the place. Mutants and Masterminds.
Ah,
They're apparently
okay.
kickstarting a new edition of that. I've played the 3rd edition a
Oh,
couple times. It's quite crunchy if you read the rule book. The the person who's GM'd it for me both times I've played it is now co-lead dev on the system. He wasn't at the time when he ran it for me, but he knows the system so well, Alex Thomas, so well, backwards, forwards, and sideways. And I've played it with him both online and in person, and it you'd never guess playing it with him that it's a crunchy system.
yeah. No,
He's like,
I get that. Yeah.
you know, but that's down to
He's a
his
true
mastery of
games
the system.
master. Yeah.
Oh, it
Capital M game master.
so we've had Alex on the podcast a time or two, and he
Yeah.
actually ran. If you dig way back in our feed, there's a Mutants and Masterminds actual play that he ran for
Okay.
us.
Yep.
Now, to give people a feel of that, if you go back and listen to that, he's running that for, I think there was 4 of us. None of us had ever played Mutants and Masterminds before, and it was really the first actual playing experience that I think at least 3 of us had with Roll20.
Oh, wow. So there's a
And
few balls to juggle then.
yes, and it still went off super smooth. Um,
Damn.
then I got to play it with him at a local convention because he's from about 4 hours away from where I'm at,
Yeah.
and it's crazy smooth to play the game with him in person. For a game that I
Yep.
know from having looked at the books, it's pretty damn crunchy.
Mm. Yeah. I think, I don't know, that sort of mastery for those sort of games, I think is, I don't know. It seems like something that would be rare.
I well,
Don't
so
know.
let me ask you this: as someone who has designed a system,
Mm.
how closely do you actually follow your bolt-ons and your mods when you're running the game, or do you just kind of go for the feel?
Um, Very good question. I tend to run it with all the rules in play, as in I will utilize all the rules and put them forward if someone wasn't sure. But having said that, one of my co-GMs who runs a lot of games, he's more the feels. So he
Hmm.
will be a bit more grey, whereas I'm a bit more black and white. So I do tend to run it mechanically, put the rules in when they're needed to be put in, which isn't really a lasers and feelings a purist lasers and feelings strategy, because as I said, it's more a narrative game, the original game. But I think it just depends on the GM. I think I use it more mechanically because I know the rules back to front, so it's probably still seamless. Whereas someone newer would probably, and I'd encourage you, just go with whatever you feel is right. I mean, and just keep moving.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, for me, I do probably run it more mechanically.
that question was partially too because I've come to this theory from some personal experience and other conversations where a lot of times it seems like if you play a game, say at a convention or whatever, with one of the designers, they often play much faster and looser with the rules. And again, this is probably more crunchy games than your design, but they
Mm.
play faster and looser with the rules than almost anyone you'll ever play with. And my kind of theory on this is that a lot of those rules have been written into the game to give it a certain desired feel, tone, however you want to describe it.
Mm.
And I think that these designers, they know what that feel tone, they know the why of why that rule was put in there. So they just go straight to the why and sort of bypass the how. Does that make any
Yeah,
sense?
that's interesting. Yeah. It's almost like, yeah, you know it so well, you're able to deliver the product more naturally.
Right, right. Like,
Um,
so to speak,
mm,
you know what it's
mm.
supposed to taste like, so you just put in the stuff to make it taste right instead of following the recipe that's trying to show you what it's supposed to taste like.
Hmm. Yeah, I understand that, and I can see that. It does make me. I'll ask you this question. There's something that's come up recently as I've played multiple sessions of the same game. It's almost seems like you haven't played the game because some GMs run it, especially for someone who doesn't know the rules. They run it in a way that if that was the only session I played of that game, I would think it's a different game, if that makes sense. So I've then played the game again because someone has said to me, "Oh no, that's really good." And even though I didn't have a good experience, I'm actually referring to Vaesen for this particular example.
Mhm.
And I said, "Oh, when I played it, X Y Z just didn't seem right." And they said, "I don't think the GM ran it like properly, if there is a properly." So I did play it again, and yeah, it definitely. I sometimes feel or worry now that I've played a game, but I haven't really played that game because I don't know what the rules are, and the GM, I'm only going is my perception is reality. Have you been in a situation where you've played the same game system twice and got two different experiences?
I haven't had that happen per se. I have played a game where my play experience did not reflect the way I heard that system talked about a lot.
Your play, okay. So do you know whether they ran it?
So I don't want to throw anyone specifically under the bus here, but I played.
You can
It
bleep
was
out their
the
names.
starter adventure for the One Ring from Free League.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it felt very, very, it felt very, very railroady and scripted to me. Now, this was a
Mm-hmm.
starter box, so
So it was a module in there.
yeah, but it was the starter box for the game. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
I get that it probably would be a bit handholdy and a little bit directed.
Yeah.
Also, I know the person who was running the game came from a much more board game oriented background, and I don't think they had a lot of experience running tabletop RPGs.
Okay.
So I think those factors combined to increase that kind of railroaded one line sort of path of how they did the thing. Add to that I think another player or two at that table are kind of those, oh, I want to poke that thing with a stick player. you know, oh, we're
Love
going
them.
hunting for the drop bears. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
um So I think, but I've heard a lot of reviews. I've heard people talk about playing that system, and it doesn't. They say it doesn't. It's not that way.
Yeah.
So
But you've only played it once.
yes, yes. As I'm not honestly I enjoy a good fantasy game, but it's
Hmm.
if I get to pick, fantasy is after sci-fi and horror and cyberpunk, and
Okay.
it's down
Yep.
the list
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me.
Post-apocalyptic,
So
it seems like a
yeah,
a thread.
well, it's sci-fi in a way, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's where
Yeah.
my brain goes, right?
Yeah.
So no, I haven't played, more of the One Ring, but I get what you're saying. Where I think if I were to, judge that game based solely on that one play experience, I don't think it would be accurate. But I've been around enough. I've played the same system with different GMs, and enjoyed it, but had a quite different experience based on who I was playing with.
But mechanically, was it still the same though? Because you can have a different experience, I guess, on what the adventure is and the GM. But I'm talking more about like the GM that ran my first Vaesen session actually said they're just learning, and he said I'll wing it if I don't know the rules. So at the end of the game, I was like, did I even play Vaesen, or was I just playing something that you made up on the spot, sort of thing? I'm My point is, it seems that the heavier the game, the more likelihood of that happening.
Oh, I would add, yeah, definitely. I would agree with
Yeah.
that. I mean, yeah, in a sense, I can say that that's happened. Um, I got to play Star Wars with someone I'm friends with, and I have had the privilege of playing Star Wars with some people who are very, very into the game. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, people from the network. I've played Star Wars with GM Phil from the Order 66 podcast. He's got writing credits in books for the system. Okay.
Yep, another master.
I've I played Star Wars with a friend at a local convention. I don't know the system backwards and forwards like GM Phil.
Mm.
I probably understand the mechanics of the system better than this guy that GM did for me locally.
Mm.
Thus, I was able to kind of game and tweak and do things and, in a sense, almost abuse him as a GM because I knew what I could do and he hadn't thought everything out completely necessarily or hadn't anticipated getting someone who understood I can do this? Okay. You gave me a character
Yeah.
sheet that I have this rating in this. Oh, I'm going to have fun.
Wow,
You
how did
know,
he take that?
Oh,
Like,
we had a blast. Don't get me wrong.
okay.
We all had a great fun. It's just that um he the way he statted out the character that I just randomly picked out of the pile, I had a hacker rating that was like, yeah, I'm just going to remote hack, you know, Palpatine's personal computer. Okay?
Oh my
He didn't I don't think he just went, "Oh, well, just give them they're gonna be good at this, so I'll stack the dice in there." So I ended up, from a data pad, hacking a troop transport and running over a squad of stormtroopers.
God. Were the other players just looking at you
Oh,
like, what's happening here?
they kind of got that, okay, he knows the system better than we do. But in the spirit of the game, it was all good fun, and we had a
That's
blast.
interesting. Okay. Yeah. Because I have been in some games where players who knew the game better were more disruptive than useful.
Yeah, look, I will freely admit that I can get I don't know how to say this. Like, I don't want to say I'm a bad player because I try to
You're
rein
hearing it
the
first.
chaos impulses in. Okay, but I also very much enjoy, and this is one of the reasons that I like playing tabletop games is you can do the weird thing,
Yes. Yeah.
or you can try.
Yeah.
And to me, that's one of the reasons that I play the game is to be able to try the thing that no computer programmer would ever put into their computer game for you to be able to do.
Yeah. And that's sort of play style it's actually quite rare that you have a player that just wants to not max out the fun, but just basically have fun and be able to, do what they want within reason.
Yeah.
Especially with strangers. I think players maybe hold back because they're not sure about how they'll be perceived.
Yeah,
So
well, see,
I don't
that's
know how.
I had met this, that GM and I are friends to this day. We see each other. Hey, what's up? How
Mm,
you doing? Whatever, blah blah. We get along great. So it wasn't. I wasn't trying to be malicious about it. I wasn't trying to dominate anything, but it was kind of one of those. "Well, you gave me a stick. I'm going to hit stuff with it."
And did the other players? Because yeah, it's really fascinating. I mean, obviously not being there, but did you feel as though you were taking over?
No, I didn't think
No,
so.
okay,
I mean,
yeah,
in that,
interesting.
like I would do things, but I also try to be conscious that I can inadvertently take over sometimes. And so I try to be
So you're
conscious
aware
to
of it.
not
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I will say this, I've noticed in our actual play recording for Exalted, I tend to probably be the most vocal player. There's a reason for that, and it's actually has nothing to do with gaming. My first real job, so to speak, I worked in radio.
Oh, okay.
The enemy
I can see that.
of radio is dead air.
Uh,
So anytime there's a pause of any length, I have to fight the impulse to say something to cover up the dead air.
yep.
And uh, eh, so, in a sense, I do sometimes take that kind of driver's seat role. And it's not that I actually want the driver's seat role, it's that I feel this compulsion to keep things moving, to keep something happening.
Yep.
Which I could see that as coming across as trying to be a dominating player, and so I try to be conscious of that and sometimes just step back and, "No, I'm not going to get involved. It's somebody else's
Yeah.
time." But
Yep.
it's not a
Especially online. Especially online, there
yes.
can be a lot of gaps. It's interesting because one thing I've learnt as I've played more online is you get very timid players and then you get very alpha players,
Mhm.
whether it's because of excitement or not. And even when I'm a player, sometimes I try and involve people I haven't heard from because I'm like, this player's just being quiet because they're either polite or, they're a bit shyer. And so one of the things that I put in the deluxe edition, which I didn't put in the one page, is turn order out of combat. So
Mhm.
I don't know, that's something you've heard, but essentially turn order is Age of Adventure terminology for initiative. But mainly because of online, when I run it, we do a turn order out of combat. So just to make sure that the alpha players are having as much input or opportunity as the absolute quiet players, because yeah, I've been in games, as I said, where some players just don't speak, although maybe they don't want to, but at least if you give them the opportunity to do something, it just feels like they're more involved.
Mhm.
I don't know what you think of that, having sort of initiative out of combat.
That's actually a really neat idea. I like that.
Hmm.
Or especially, or be it online or at a convention. Running a pickup at a local
Yeah,
game shop, like you said, with so to speak strangers. And the other thing is, there are those people who they just want to come and kind of be that quiet guy in the background.
yeah,
As
some do. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
and so, like, putting players on the spot at times can make them uncomfortable, and
Hmm.
that's the tricky part about playing with strangers or a new group, I think, is sorting out that dynamic that this table is going to have. You know what I mean?
100%. It is. Yeah. I mean, well, not always, but probably 90% of the time I'm playing with strangers. I'm running at some cons coming up. But I think I found the turn order out of combat is just sometimes I don't even use it if I find the dynamic is okay, everyone's sort of on page, especially if like two or three people join and they know each other. You can tell straight away, okay, that's going to be fine. But if not, it's just good to say, especially when there's an alpha that is really excited, or I want to do this, and then someone else has said, and they're like, oh, can I do this? It's always good to just say, okay, let's just stop for a second. Is there anything you want to do? And it can be done without. I mean, there's other mechanisms like going around the table and that sort of thing, but it just builds in a mechanic where you can just ask that person, would you like to do anything? And not have to rely on them to speak over someone or to interject. Yeah, and again, it's a stranger thing. Just
Yeah,
knowing that
yeah,
everyone will have the opportunity, whether they
yeah,
say, no, I'm happy just to listen, that's fine. But I rarely
yeah,
get any players saying that, especially at cons. They tend to want to do something.
yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, that's an interesting thing. I've done the around the table thing, a game I've run several times at conventions that I've had a lot of fun with. I'm sure listeners have heard me talk about it, is Havoc Brigade from Grant Howitt.
Oh, yeah, I heard you games of that. Yeah, that was
Oh
good.
my god,
Did
that
you do around the table in that game?
typically now the one that we broadcast was online, and that game isn't as much fun online. Typically, I just do around the table when I'm running that because there is no actual initiative structure that I remember right.
Mm.
And let's put it this way, th- there are rules to Havoc Brigade. Inevitably, every time I have run that game, by the end of the session, it's just how many ridiculous dice can I pile together to do the ridiculously stupid thing?
I got that impression from your podcast. Right? When you
You know, I have had, so at Gamer Nation Con, which is a convention that our podcast network puts together, I ran that twice in the same day. Now, I ran a Lord of the Rings themed hack of it
Oh,
because
okay.
that was the theme for the convention. So I made custom characters that were, definitely not Aragorn or definitely not Legolas or, the
Yeah.
one character in the game is 5 goblins. Well, you can't do that for Lord of the Rings, but you can make one character 3 hobbits. You know,
Nice.
but it is a madcap game about basically doing all the stupid crap that you would never do because it will derail your normal game.
Is it a one-page game, or is
It's
it?
not.
Print?
I don't remember how many pages the download is. It's on drive-through. It's on itch. It's actually cheaper to buy on itch.
Yep.
But it comes with all the rules, 6 pre-gens, a little bit of a map, some story prompts. Like it is sit down, you print it off and play.
Nice.
And I ran it twice in the same day. And while I am typically a minimal prep, wing everything GM in the first place, running that twice in the same day was actually very draining because of the amount of just, oh my God, how am I going to deal with this crazy,
Oh, you have to think on your feet.
oh my, look,
Yeah.
the one game, the players decided to basically hotbox the earth elementals and get them high.
Oh.
Okay.
So player agency is obviously very high.
Oh yes, yes. And
Yeah.
so yeah, you're literally just going, what what crazy thing have they done and how do I respond to it? The second session of it, they decide to have an in-character drinking game.
Oh. Was that the session? Did these players all know each other? Or are these
In
all
that session,
strangers?
about 4 of the 6, or 5 of the 6 did.
Right. Yeah. Well, 6 is a big number of players too.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Well, 4 of them played together regularly in that session. 4 of the 6. But it keeping up in that case with that much improv was just. But it was all they were having
Yeah. It sounds
At
like
some
be
point, I
memorable.
went because part of the thing with that game is, okay, if you use a skill, you get to add a die. If you do use an item, you get to add a die.
Yeah.
And basically, you
Yep.
kind of have to justify how you're using your sword to, convince the merchant that he should give you a big discount on the thing.
Yeah.
Okay?
So you're trying to build your dice pool.
Basic right. And so I'm just, or you have drives or whatever. And so part of the idea behind the game is to make up creative ways to be able to add dice. So they decide to have this drinking game, and it's like, well, how do you? I'm like, look, you all have to convince each other that it's okay for you to add a die for using.
Oh. Oh my God. Was the whole session that?
No, actually, the drinking game was only maybe 45 minutes out of 4 hours.
I was 4 hours, so you ran 2 4 hours. Wow.
2 4 hours the same day of that game.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy.
I had a blast, but it was a lot.
You're in a coma at the end.
I was just, like, mentally drained.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
well, and I will say too, after the one session of that, the one player looked at me and went, "Okay, Steve, thanks. Now my abs hurt too." I laughed so much.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, like it was,
Yeah, that's good.
I knew them and they were intentionally trying to be funny, but it was like, I've laughed so much my abs hurt.
Oh my God. Geez, I can imagine the tables next to yours must have been glancing over.
Well, that's a real small kind of intimate convention setting, and so, a lot of the people, like, how do I want to explain? When I went to that convention the first time, I've gone 3 years, and this is not a convention like your normal convention. It's more of like a gaming club get together. Usually about 150, 200 people.
Okay. Yeah.
The first time I went to that convention, I had only ever played with 3 people that were there.
How long has this been running?
They've been doing it for they've had it 11 times. This year's had to be postponed because of the venue problems with the venue. So, I usually play somewhere between 8 to 10 sessions of RPG over the span of the weekend that they have the convention. In that time, so like I said, I walked in the door only ever having played with 3 people that were there.
Hmm.
In that time, I have yet to play at a table with no one I've ever played with before.
Oh, wow. So it's the same crowd?
Similar crowd, or a lot of the
Yeah.
same people show up. So it's very kind of almost like if you had like a university gaming club that got together on
Yep.
homecoming weekend.
Yep.
It's much more that vibe than your typical convention. But I've also, up until this year, had never played at a table of all people that I'd played with before.
All right. So this is the first time.
That happened like 1 or 2 sessions the last year I was down there.
And you prefer that?
It's fun. Look, that is, it's kind of this, like, it's very much more got this vibe of this giant gaming club that just gets together and games for a weekend, 4 days, and
Yeah.
it's just, I mean, it's so much fun, and it's faces you remember, and like, oh, hey, I played next to this person. I GM'd for them in this other game, and they ran a different game that I played in.
Wow. It's a nice community to have.
Oh, yeah.
Very good. Do they, in between the events, do you do things online or other types of gaming, or just that annual get-together?
So that annual get-together, it's our podcast network puts it on. So it grew out of the Star Wars podcast, Order 66, that was the start of the network. And you've got a bunch of, like, the local people, because they always do it in their hometown, Dallas, Texas area. And so you have some local people that show up kind of every year. You have, the one guy from California has been there every year. You have different people from different podcasts, fans of the different podcasts that come. You have, it's a really, really cool get together. Calling it a convention.
Getting bigger?
I don't know how big they want it to get, because it's not a commercial convention, so to speak.
Oh, okay, yeah, I understand. It's always at the same venue as well.
It has been, yeah. What they've done, and this is the reason it's been postponed this year, is it's a game club there in that Dallas area, and they have a massive, massive library of board games. Like, we're talking 3,500, 4,000 titles.
What? So permanently there then.
So what this place actually functions as, the whole rest of the other 361 days a year, is a membership gaming club.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You can
I'm with you now. Yep.
come play the games, bring your own games, whatever. They rent it out for the 4 days that we do it. We get to use that library while we're there. So you've got people running board games, RPGs, not a lot of card games.
Yeah.
But so, call it, I think a 4-day badge was like $90 or $100 last year.
Yeah.
You get 4 days of access to the entire board game library, plus tons and tons of RPGs being played. So,
So you can access that library, like, just during the week.
If you're a local and you have a membership, you can just, I don't know,
so it's
I'm
like a
sure they have
library.
hours of operation, but
Yeah. But it's like a library, but it's a club that you
Yeah.
join to access.
Yeah.
Wow. We
Yeah,
don't have
and
anything like that here.
it's the only place I know of. Like, there's some game shops that have a library of,
Yes.
a fair number of board games.
Yep.
This is basically take your obsessive local game store owner who has a big library on steroids. The story I heard is that the club originally started because the guy's board game collection outgrew his basement. And so he rented a retail space to store it. And then someone went, you could charge like a membership fee and make it like a club. And he went, oh, okay. Like, literally on the shelves would be everything from chess to Gloomhaven.
So he doesn't sell anything.
He might sell like dice, or like, I think they do sell some like Warhammer miniatures and stuff like that. But it's not a typical retail storefront. It's more of a
Hmm.
club that sells, like I said, I'm sure you can buy games through him if you want to, but it's not a primarily retail thing.
It sounds crazy. It's like a community library that, has is majority for the community and for club members, not so much for retail or profit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I believe also he does rent out like the table space for other, like, be it, like
Ah.
a quilting club or something that might want to get together. They
Oh,
can rent it
okay.
for a night.
Wow.
So it's kind of a multi-purpose thing. But as a gaming club, he's got this massive library that, 'cause we get access to it for the weekend. So like, if you
Yeah.
want to set up and play, I'm drawing a blank on the Fantasy Flight Space Epic board game.
Space opera? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I can't think of the name of it. Twilight Imperium.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
You could set up and play Twilight Imperium all weekend if you wanted to.
Man, that's awesome. We often struggle to find venues to actually that will host, allow you to
Yeah.
host.
Well, like I said, at
Wow.
this point, like I said, but the reason the con has been postponed this year, because it normally happens like early in April, is that the guy lost the lease on the retail space.
Oh, lost it. Someone else has been given to someone else.
Yeah, or I don't know. Well, all I know is the storefront no longer had the retail space lease, so therefore, well, there's no hall to go into, so to speak,
Yeah,
if you
no
want to call it
venue.
that. I assume the guy has put the library into storage or whatever, but
So it's not happening this year then? Or are they looking for a
it,
different venue?
well, the club, from what I understand, is looking for another venue. They just haven't, as of any information I've received, confirmed got a new lease in place to know, hey, we can do this again. So
That's kind of
currently it's
sad, actually.
postponed. Oh, it
Oh,
it really is. It's such a fun
yeah.
thing. It's
That sounded amazing.
oh it like and the cool thing too is like they do this thing where as you play during the convention you get XP, these little cards, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the convention, we have an auction where people donate, be it dice, books. You get board games donated by, these people know. You have, publishers sometimes give you a couple copies of something, whatever, and you get to bid on it in this auction. But the only thing you can bid on it with is the XP from playing games.
Oh, so how much XP do you get per game?
Like, it's basically 10 XP per hour of game played.
Oh, okay.
Like I ended up
That's different.
the Genesis dice we were talking about earlier. I
Yeah,
got 2 packs
okay.
of them at the XP auction. Now, I don't know if this was the case in Australia, but for quite a while, these were really hard to come by in the US. And we found out part of the reason why was because the game company got a crate of them in that had the wrong logo on the card in the blister pack. So they
Ooh,
couldn't sell
limited
them.
edition.
Well, they couldn't sell them.
Oh, right. So
So,
your
like,
ones are with errors or?
no. The dice are perfectly fine. It's the cardboard card, the little manufacturers. I don't know. You probably can't see it from the glare of the camera.
Okay. Oh, part of the
But
packaging. Yep.
on the back of the packaging, it has the logo of the original company, not the new company,
Damn.
because of corporate takeover, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So why did you bid on 2 packets? What?
It's easier to play if
What?
you have two sets. You can do it
Okay.
with easier with
Right.
2.
Okay.
Um,
I wasn't questioning your choices, but I was like,
no, but like
wasn't there
that.
anything else to bid on?
Oh, no, I've gotten GM screens, but people can donate stuff too. Like I had come across, I had 2 3.5 Eberron GM screens. So the one
Okay.
year I went down, I put one of those in the auction,
Okay.
and we have a podcast on the network that is, well, it's called Eberron Renewed. You can guess what they play in the Eberron setting. So the GM from that actually ended up getting that in the auction.
Oh wow. Well, hopefully they find a place.
Yeah, they're looking for stuff, but at this point, but like you have people that regularly come in. Like I said, there's the one guy from California that hasn't missed a year. We have a group that normally drives down from Central Canada.
Wow.
You know,
Wow. Okay.
I'm
Jeez.
in Pittsburgh. There's a crew that normally comes down from New England. People come in from actually GM Hooley, who we talked about a little bit before off air, is in Brisbane on your side of the world, has come over for 1 or 2.
No way.
Yes.
What? Man, I'm impressed when people just come into state. This is like crazy. Jeez.
I know he's not terribly close to you, but from here, all of Australia is one tiny place.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
I mean, I joke, obviously, but well,
Oh.
anything else you want to say about your game, or if you have a website or socials anywhere to go to find you or anything like that?
Yeah, you can find Age of Adventure RPG on Drive-Thru, Itch. I do have Facebook, Discord. What else is there? YouTube. I've even started to upload some of our one-shots as we start playing them. So generally on any of those platforms, search Age of Adventure RPG and you're bound to find some link to me somewhere. And if you have any questions, reach out. Always happy to help. But thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Not a problem at all. Like I said, you seem like a really cool person, and
Thank you.
I say it all the time, but you seem like one of those "come share my fun" creators, which I
100%,
think
yeah.
is
That's why I like when nothing brings more of a smile to my face when someone new signs up to a game that I'm running. So I love meeting new people and introducing them to A, the hobby, and B, Age of Adventure.
well, very, very cool. So I guess with that, it's time for Game of the Week.
Let's do it.
Game of the week. Game of the week.
All right. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first? Because you already told me you know how it's played. So
Yeah, all right, I'll go first. We'll end on a high note with your one. With your option. The game that I've like to share, game of the week, is called One Shot RPG. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's by David Dudka.
Okay, drop me
who
a link
goes
in the
by-
Green Room channel if you would.
Yeah, okay. He goes
That way
by
I can-
Fazul.
I've heard of
Online,
this.
so,
I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know whether
ever
you've
seen
actually
it.
spoken about it before, but I have played in a few of these one-shot RPGs, and what I like about it is that it is essentially one system that runs. You can run adventures and stories across different genres. So there's I've played mainly in the horror. I've played in a superhero one. Very simple rules, similar to your Age of Adventure type system. Probably less, maybe 3 or 4 pages. Some of the rules, and just tinkered to fit into different genres. So one-shot RPG, if you're looking for something simple to play across multiple genres, he smashes out so many different genres. And he's
Okay.
constantly creating new ones as well. And he's really good. If you can ever get in a game run by Fazul, he's brilliant. One thing that I do really like how he runs his games is that every character, all play characters are based on an actor. So you nominate your actor, and that's cast as your character. So yeah, just really easy to jump into. And I think you were mentioning it before, just knowing what your other players, where they fit in, having a stereotypical actor that's playing them, it just makes it the cohesion and knowing what everyone is trying to get at a lot easier as well. So yeah, the game system, one-shot RPG, and I believe it's only on Drive-Thru. That's where I find the games.
Okay, yeah, I see.
And they're all
He's got a
pay.
ton of stuff.
Oh, yeah, he's a machine when it comes to putting these out, and they're all pay what you want as well. So it's amazing.
Cool. Yeah, there's everything: horror, action. Oh man, there's
Yeah,
just
I played
lots
a
and
John
lots
Wick one. He did a John Wick one. It was amazing. Every genre you can basically cover there. Spies.
Cool. Very, very cool. All right. Well,
What have you
I'm
got?
go- all right. Well, can't say that I've played this, but I found this today when I was digging around, and this looks like something I actually want to look into. And there's a link in the listing for you to buy their actual physical thing. This is called Space Aces Rec Runners. This specifically is the director's cut is what we're looking at. This looks like, right now it's on sale for $5 US. Normal price is $10, but it's on the GM's Day sale on Drive-Thru currently as we record. This is. It looks like it's almost a hybrid board game RPG.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, the cover makes it look like a board game.
Well, it's both, and but here's the way this looks like. It's kind of like a tile thing where you build the spaceship. Your crew raiding spaceships, but you're also streaming what you're doing. So this breaks all kinds of the walls of like you're playing as this crew that's raiding these. Well, the hottest sport to hit the galactic feed since rocket pod racing, and that one reality show about sentient slime mold dating. Explore dangerous drifting derelicts while live streaming your stunts and screw ups to fans and sponsors across the verse. Dodge
What do
space
you mean
cops.
by live streaming?
So it's basically you're playing as your characters. You're the actors in a reality show, I think.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah, the game. So in game, it's being streamed to an audience.
Right.
Your characters.
Right. So
Right. Okay.
It's like this kind of weird perspective, which, well, there's another game I play that ties this a little bit. It's called Slay Industries, but this also kind of feels like Retro Star. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah. Didn't you run that?
The other Steve ran it, actually.
Ah,
we
yes, I do
did-
remember.
But in
There were some
that, you
sessions of
play
that.
actors in a
Yes.
sci-fi series.
Yep. No, I remember that. Yeah.
Um,
But this is, hang on, what, 1 to 6 players, so you can play it solo.
yeah. Here's what I like about this, though: the shipbuilding stuff. Who cares about running their game? I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't try and run their game and their system. Steal the shipbuilding thing for Age of
it looks
Adventure in
awesome.
space, or
Yeah, look at
what the
it.
hell ever.
Oh my God.
Because it looks like if you buy
Yeah, I
the
can
physical
see
thing,
it.
you get somewhere. There's a thing for it. There's these tiles to build a ship, kind of like Betrayal, the house board
Yeah.
game. I think that's kind of how you build the ship.
Okay.
That's bloody G.
Yeah, we recently just finished playing Betrayal Legacy, but yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this just looks like.
How did you even find this? It doesn't even seem like something that would come up as a role-playing game.
Well, this is a trick that I often use to find stuff for Game of the Week. Go to the Browse Categories tab on Drive-Thru, click Genre, and go down to Miscellaneous, and you find the weird stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this seems to be a hybrid of things that would easily get missed. Wow.
But yeah, this just looks like, I mean, it
there's a
looks
video.
very kind of
Yeah.
cartoon inspired, kind of hijinks, fun, quick,
Well, it says on the box 60 to 120 minutes, so it's obviously fairly self-contained.
Yeah, but look, I'm seriously tempted to look into this just to get the spaceship building stuff.
How many tiles do you get?
There's somewhere here. What do you do? What's in the box? 42 Universal
42,
Starship
there we go.
Geomorph.
Geomorph.
Okay, and so if you buy the
Oh, it's print
PDF, you
out.
can just print it out.
Yep. Basically, I'll post some more.
I
It
mean,
has
look,
it gives me a feel of there's a role-playing game called Adventure Presents. I think it's called Adventure Presents by Rebellion.
okay.
Yeah, it has that sort of almost cartoony feel, and it's sci-fi.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
This just looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I reckon an actual print-on-demand box version would be cool of this.
Yeah, print on demand. I mean, you can even print them out, and if you've got a laminator or just those laminate sheets.
Oh yeah, or
for the
card stock.
tiles.
Yeah. Good pickup.
Yeah,
Very
like I
good.
said, that's another thing I like to look for in games sometimes. It's not necessarily am I buying the game for its intended use. Is there something I can take from that
The
and
hack.
do more
Yeah.
with? Well, like this, like I said, if you want to run Star Trek, Star Wars, your random whatever space game, Vast Grim, anything like
Oh
that.
yeah.
The Starship Generation it's Starfinder, whatever. Like
It's all about hacking and stealing, folks.
using,
Get into it.
reusing, reuse, recycle. So yeah, this is called Space Aces Rec Runners, WRECK, and there'll be links to everything in the show notes, so you can find this stuff if you're looking for it. For the listeners out there and whatnot. But anything else you want to say as we wrap things up, Age? I mean, this has been a very fun conversation. I've enjoyed it thoroughly. So
Loved it. I've loved it. Thank you again for inviting me on my Virgin podcast. I'll forever remember this moment. Always love listening to the show and keep playing those actual plays. I love the actual plays. One of my highlights of listening to podcasts. So make sure they don't go away. Thank you, Steve.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. It's like I said, it's been very fun having a chat with you. You know, and we rambled and stuff, but that's what we do. So,
Yep, that is it. That is it.
well, I think with all that, you know, like I said, check all the links for everything in the show notes. There'll be a bunch of links to Adrian stuff, um, you know, links to all our Discord, Patreon, all that happy whatever, YouTube, blah blah blah. And I think with all that, just want to remind everyone to be kind to each other and get out there and play some RPGs.
See you, folks.
Intro and outro music by the band 12 Noon. You can email us at meandsteverpg@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at @andrpgs. Find us on Facebook at Me and Steve RPG Podcast, on Discord at Me and Steve RPGs, and as always, all of these links are in the show notes. Thank you, and be kind to one another.
How much for the cigar?
Cigar, $20, dog. You gotta go down the street to the store and buy that.